Sometimes a piece of furniture can hit you right in the feels. That is exactly what happened when I came across these epoxy river tables. I've seen countless resin projects as an enthusiast, but there is something about these particular tables that struck an emotional chord. It is like they are storytelling pieces, blending the raw and thin beauty of wood with the fluid elegance of epoxy resin. They tell a story of nature, of creativity, and of pure craftsmanship. And while I didn't make these myself, I feel compelled to share just how powerful and moving they are. The first table I came across had a deep sapphire blue resin that felt like staring into an actual river. The surface was so glossy and polished that it mirrored everything around it. And what amazed me was the way the resin and wood seemed to have a conversation. The edges of the live edge walnut curved naturally, like the banks of a river, while the resin swirled and danced as though it were water caught mid-motion. You could almost hear the soft rush of water as your eyes traced the design. What makes these tables so moving is the way they feel connected to something bigger than themselves. They take elements from nature and enhance them in a way that feels respectful, almost reverent. The wood is raw and organic, with every knot and grain preserved and celebrated, and the resin, though synthetic, feels like it belongs, like it is part of the story the wood is telling. Now, one table that particularly stood out to me was a large dining table. It featured a combination of clear and frosted resin, with subtle gradients of turquoise and aqua. The resin was so meticulously crafted that it actually looked like the table had a real stream running through it. The wood, a beautifully piece of spouted maple, added a layer of complexity with its striking patterns and natural imperfections. What really got me, though, was how the resin included tiny details like embedded stones and flakes of gold. These little touches brought the design to life, making it feel like you were sitting beside a real riverbed. The attention to detail in these tables is nothing short of extraordinary. It is clear that the makers behind these pieces poured their heart and probably a fair share of resin into every step of the process. You can tell that they didn't just see the wood and resin as materials, they saw them as collaborators. The way they preserve the natural beauty of the wood while seamlessly blending it with the resin is nothing short of genius. Let's talk about the craftsmanship for a moment. While I'm not the one who made these tables, I can appreciate the incredible skill and effort that goes into creating something like this. Selecting the right wood is just the beginning. The maker has to carefully cut and shape the slab to ensure that it fits perfectly into the mold. The resin too requires a level of precision that can be overstated, mixing the pigment, pouring the resin in just the right way, and ensuring it cures flawlessly. All of this takes an immense amount of patience and expertise. One of the tables I came across used a technique called a dirty pour to create these swirling dynamic patterns in the resin. Multiple colors were poured simultaneously, allowing them to blend and flow together naturally. The result was breathtaking, an almost hypnotic blend of blues and silvers that seemed to capture the movement of water. What really impressed me was how the makers managed to control the chaos, creating a design that was spontaneous yet intentional. Another detail that struck me was the finishing. These tables weren't just beautiful, they were flawless. The resin was polished to a high gloss finish, creating a surface so smooth and reflective that it felt like glass. The wood too was finished to perfection, with every edge sanded and sealed to enhance its natural beauty. These finishing touches might seem small, but they make all the difference. They take a great table and elevate it to a masterpiece. I think what makes these tables so emotional for me is how they remind us of the beauty in imperfection. The wood isn't pristine, it is full of knots, cracked and unique grain patterns. But instead of hiding these imperfections, the makers embrace them, turning them into features that add character and depth. The resin too isn't just a uniform color, it is dynamic, full of swirls, gradients and tiny details that make it come alive. One of my favorite moments when looking at these tables is seeing how they react to light. During the day, the resin glows softly, its colors shifting and changing as the light moves. At night, with a simple LED strip placed underneath, the table transformed into something almost magical. The resin seemed to pulse with light, casting gentle reflections across the room. It is the kind of thing that makes you stop and stare, no matter how many times you have seen it before. Even as someone who didn't make these tables, I feel a deep connection to them. They remind me of why I fell in love with Epoxy Resin project in the first place. It is not just about creating something functional, it is about creating something meaningful, something that tells a story. These tables tell a story of nature, of creativity, and of the incredible things we can achieve when we let our imagination run wild. If you have ever worked with epoxy resin, you know how challenging it can be. The resin doesn't always behave the way you want it to, and even the smallest mistake can throw off the entire project. That is why I have so much respect for the makers behind this table. They've not only mastered the technical aspect of working with resin, but they've also managed to infuse their work with a sense of artistry and emotion that is truly inspiring. As an enthusiast, seeing tables like this makes me want to push the boundaries of my own creativity. They make me want to experiment with new techniques, try bolder designs, and take on projects that challenge me. And even if I never create something as stunning as these tables, I know that the journey, the process of trying, failing, and learning will be worth it. I think what I love most about these tables is how they make you feel. They are not just pieces of furniture, they are experiences. Sitting at one of these tables, you can't help but feel a sense of awe and wonder. They remind us of the beauty of nature, the power of creativity, and the magic that happens when two come together. Thank you for being part of our creative journey. If this video lighted a spark or inspired your project, don't let the idea stop here. Hit like, share it with fellow creators, and subscribe to join a community that thrives on innovation. Tap the notification bell and make sure you are always ahead of the curve with our latest inspiration. See you in the next video.